All right, so now we'll talk about the important part, which is production readiness. In this, we'll talk about four things. One is evaluation. How do we ensure that the output that we're getting is not the result of a hallucination and it's factually correct? Second is failure handling. So in cases where uh, the RAG pipeline and AI is not able to get the response, how are those failures managed and how is the handover done to the human? The next one is security and privacy. How do you comply with the various regulations about data being transferred to AI models? The last one being the last one being multi-tenancy, on how you can have multiple clients use the same RAG infrastructure that we've created. We'll start with the first one, which is evaluation. How do we know if the AI is actually good? So there are four dimensions of evaluation. One is the retrieval quality, whether we are getting the right chunks or not. Next is answer correctness. From the chunks, do we get the actual answer which is correct? Third is faithfulness. So is AI grounded in the chunks and the context that has been given to it, or is it hallucinating and giving responses which it has created on its own? And the fourth one is response consistency. How do we ensure that the same question answered multiple times in maybe different ways by different users gives the same answer? So these are the four evaluation criteria that we'll check. Now to test all the four dimensions, the better way or probably the best way to do it is creating a test set of questions and expected answers covering all the various scenarios. So in this case, if you notice here, I've created about 30 questions with answers from different topics, uh, noting down what are the question, what are the answers, what is the expected source, what are the categories, and so on. In this, I would cover all the commonly asked questions across different categories. I would also include some questions which are, let's say, not to be answered, or let's say where this AI should not be able to answer those questions and the answers don't exist in the knowledge base. So these again are, let's say at the end I've added them, unanswerable questions. So out of 30, I've taken three of these questions which um, are not answerable at all. For example, does ClearDesk integrate with Notion? Is ClearDesk HIPAA compliant? So these information that do not exist in our knowledge base files. There are also some questions which require multiple documents to be retrieved, chunks retrieved from multiple documents, and then these need to be answered. Something like, can I use SML SSO with ClearDesk? How many guests can I add on the Pro plan? So some of these questions require information from multiple documents to be answered. For these, again, we have the expected answer category and so on. And this becomes your test set. Now, if you're creating this test set, this is the single most important thing as of today, because this is the actual context of the customer support team and how do they receive the queries and what are the actual answers. And we are testing the AI on this test set if it is getting these answers correctly. So if you had to spend the maximum time or effort and thinking, this is the one place in creating this test set is where you should be spending the maximum time and thought. Now, to actually do the evaluation, there are three ways of doing it. One is obviously you look at your responses manually and give them a score, which we will not cover in this video because we are looking at how do we use AI in doing this. The second method is where we send the response to another or through another API call with instructions asking for ratings on correctness, faithfulness, relevance. This is a sample prompt on how we would do this. We'll give the question, we'll give the expected answer, we'll give the AI response and the retrieved context. And we are asking AI to rate the answers given by our RAG pipeline. So I'll just show this with an example. We have, again, I'm not going through the code, but we have the same or a similar question here that we've tested before. We will generate the response and then we will evaluate it. So this is the question that's gone, and we are still using the same RAG pipeline that we have been using till now. query has been expanded to 3 questions. And we have received the response. So yeah, okay, so this is the response. Let me just uncomment the evaluation bit as well. Okay, so we have the test set in this test set file, and we are just going to use evaluation file to run uh, the evaluation on the entire test set. I'm going to run this, and we will see the responses that we are getting. Okay, so this was the first question. It was expanded uh, the way we have set up in the RAG pipeline. We got the values, and this is our evaluation. So as you can see, these are the scores. For this question, how do I reset my password? The answer that was given, the evaluation came out 5 on all the 3 parameters. C is correctness, F is faithfulness, R is relevance. And I'm running this in a loop for all these questions. And let's look at some of the other evaluations. A lot of them are coming as 5, which is good. This one case, for example, where the question was how much does ClearDesk Pro cost if I pay annually? Here, the correctness is wrong, very low, and the relevance is also low. So these are the things that I would check before actually putting it into production, and actually check and correct these, rerun the evaluation, and then put it into production. So that's the manual way of testing. There's another way of automated testing, which is the third way of testing this or evaluating the output, which is using RAGAS. So RAGAS is an open source package which allows you to test the output of any of the RAG pipelines that you might have. There's a sample code here, and we are not going to spend too much time on this, but this is available for your reference. It is important to run it manually and check the correctness using the second method that we saw before you automate it using RAGAS, so that you have a sense of whether the numbers or the evaluation coming out of RAGAS is correct or not. Okay, moving on, let's look at how do we handle failure gracefully. So AI might get answers wrong, which is possible. So how do we handle those? So one of the ways of doing it is measuring the confidence and taking an action based on the confidence. For example, if the confidence is greater than 0.8, then the answer is given to the user or the customer directly. If the confidence is, let's say, zero point 0.5 to zero point 0.8 range, you check for groundedness. If the answer is grounded into the context, uh, you give the answer to the user or the customer, and we check this using, let's say, one more call to check the groundedness. If the answer is not grounded, escalate with a message, and the message could be something like this: I found relevant information but want to make sure I give you the right answer. Let me connect you with our support team. So is this is what you would do with medium level confidence. And if the confidence is really low, there's no need to check, and you can just escalate directly to a team member. And this matters because this affects your user experience directly. And some of these things need to be ensured. For example, the AI should never say, I can't help. It should always say, let me connect you with somebody who can. Never blame the AI. The customer would not want to know that there's some AI which is not capable enough of answering their question. They just want solutions. And the best answer, again, is to hand over to a human and preserve context in the handoff. So while passing the conversation to a human, it is a good practice to summarize it so that the human can read it and the customer doesn't have to repeat everything that they have already informed or mentioned to the initial AI conversation or in the AI conversation. Now, here is an illustration on how to check groundedness. So it just returns a true or false whether the answer is grounded or not. So a call is made to GPT-4o Mini with this prompt. asking if the answer contains only information present in the provided context, and you pass the context and the answer, and you have a JSON response to this. So we'll test it out, simply going to the bottom here, and you can just create a fake answer and a fake context and run this. So yeah, this was intentional. It says grounded, false, ungrounded claims, so on. So we created a fake answer with fake context, and you can see this was the context given to AI, and this is the answer which it gave. And this one talks about support is available via in-app chat Monday to Friday and email at this. And the fake answer said you can reach out to our 24-hour support line at so and so number. So this is a way of checking whether AI is hallucinating or not. Now let's briefly touch upon security and privacy for enterprise AI. So as you would have noticed, for every call, API call that we make to OpenAI, we are sending across the system prompt, the retrieved documentation, the conversation gist. So we'll just look at one example of how do we redact some of the PII of customers which might be sent through these messages. All right, so a customer might send a message something like this saying, "Hi, my name is Sarah Chen and I can't log into my account. This is my email ID, my account ID, and I was charged twice on my card ending 4829. Call me on this number." So it has multiple PIIs. One is the email ID, second is this phone number, and in some cases your account ID could also be a PII. In this case, there are just 4 digits of the credit card, so that may not be PII. It's just something that's probably safe to send. Now, how do we redact this is we identify patterns and update them accordingly. So you can just add one more function in your RAG pipeline where you redact the values of email or phone number and you send a message which is something like this. It just says, "Hi, my name is Sarah Chen. I cannot log into my account. My email ID is," and the email ID is actually not sent in the prompt because even AI doesn't need your email ID, right? So you can mask all this information and then send it to AI in your API calls. This way you are not actually sending out any of the information which is personal to your customers. Now let's move on to the last part of this video, which is multi-tenancy. So when you have multiple customers working with you and you have set up, let's say, a RAG pipeline for multiple of them, how do you ensure that data from one client or one customer does not appear in the other client or a tenant's responses? So it should be impossible and not just unlikely. There are two ways to do this. One is you have separate infrastructure. So you have, let's say, a separate Pinecone account, or you have a separate project and you physically just separate the data sets and you don't refer them. One other way which Pinecone provides is you can create namespaces. You can create multiple namespaces, each for a client. And then within the same index, you can, with your API calls, you can send the namespace ID as well, so that only the information in that namespace gets retrieved. Now, for this, the test is simple. You can just create multiple tenants or multiple namespaces in Pinecone and ask about one product or one company's product or policy to a different namespace and see if you get the responses. If you do, then there is a leak, otherwise you are safe. So that's the broad thought process behind it. Now, why should we think about creating different namespaces and not a dedicated deployment on Pinecone? Shared infra obviously has benefits. One is obviously the cost. There is a fractional cost. Dedicated deployments are usually much more expensive. Isolation is possible in shared infra. For example, in Pinecone, there is namespaces, so you can separate them. But dedicated environment, you don't need them. They are physically separate, so there's no chance of data leakage. Shared infra works with a lot of clients. A lot of enterprises are okay with shared infra because there is a cost benefit. Some extremely cautious enterprises might still ask for a single tenancy, and they might have to they might be ready to pay for it as well. And this can obviously be offered through an enterprise grade plan if you have customers in this region, or if you this can obviously offered by enterprise plans if you have customers who are asking for this. So with this, we come to the end of this video.